Most people are consciously destroying their own brains, and they've been doing it every single day for years. Back in 2012, 2013, social media became pretty popular. We saw platforms like Facebook grow a lot. We saw more people going to check out Instagram to see what it was about. We saw people using Vine, one of the first short-form video platforms, to consume content from their favorite creators. And even YouTube saw much more traffic compared to before. We as a collective society were so fascinated with the potential. We saw how unique it was to watch content, to see what our friends were doing on a random Saturday morning, to send direct messages to anybody in the entire world. This was a new thing, and it was awesome. These are some of the beneficial aspects of the internet that I and all of us collectively should be eternally grateful for. But in these last 13 to 14 years, we've seen how this has drastically affected the human mind. I recently talked with a bunch of other business professionals and entrepreneurs at this meetup the other week. And we were discussing technology, the future, social media, and how the world has changed so much in these last 10 to 15 years. Now, these are all very smart people, but what I found while talking with them was that many of them struggle with their cognitive performance and their ability to achieve those peak flow states when doing work on a day-to-day basis. Many of them said that it's because they're always feeling distracted or overwhelmed. Now, it's understandable, right? They're running businesses, they're working with clients, they're exploring new ideas, they're posting content. I get it. But in these conversations, many of the people I spoke with would voluntarily offer up the fact that they spend way too much time on their phone, scrolling social media. And when I first heard this, I didn't think too much about it. I just thought, all right, well, yeah, we have this amazing technology and the ability to connect with and see information from people all around the world. It makes sense, right? But later in the day when I was driving my car home, I thought, these are people that were all older than me. These are people in their 40s, 50s, and 60s. They grew up with no internet or a very primitive internet. They grew up with no social media. They had cable TV with minimal channels. That was it. But here they are, struggling to maintain their cognitive abilities and get things done without feeling distracted or overwhelmed because of all the chaos that's going on and their social media use. It's a crazy thing because this goes to show how powerful the tools are that we have at our disposal. And it goes to show how much of an influence they can have over our life if we don't determine what it is we're trying to do with our life and use those tools to our advantage. The uniqueness and the novelty of social media and smartphones and the internet over these last 10 to 15 years has blown a lot of people away. Because we're living in great times with constant innovation and improvement in many areas of life. But this has also meant we're always plugged in. We're constantly stimulated. But we've also been bombarded with endless information. And over these last 10 to 15 years, we have retrained our brains to expect this constant stimulation. And from a behavioral standpoint, we're always reaching for the phone. We're always putting the TV on when there's nothing happening around you. We're always scrolling to look for some sort of information that may or may not actually benefit our life. And these behaviors, they're so deeply ingrained that making changes can feel impossible. In fact, many folks have become so content with the idea of always living in a mental haze, always feeling distracted, always experiencing ADHD-like symptoms that they don't feel the desire to change. This has become the new normal. And from what I have seen, the people who can sit down and read for an hour or do 3 to 4 hours of deep work, purely focusing on the task, seem like aliens to 99% of people. I remember a few years back, it was a Monday morning, I'm in the office at work, and one of my coworkers asked me, hey, what did you do this weekend? At that time, I was just beginning to write online and work with clients with ghostwriting, so that's what I told them. And they began to ask me, how often do you write? Do you write before work? Do you write after work? I said, yeah, I usually get up 5:30, 6 a.m. I write for a few hours, come to work, and then after work I'll go to the gym, eat a big meal, read, write, go to bed. They couldn't fathom the idea of being able to focus outside of work and using my time wisely in ways that was trying to benefit my life. But they told me, Once I'm out of work, I feel so compelled to just put on the TV, eat a big meal, and scroll my phone. Because that's the only time I have to do it. And in that moment, that's when I knew that even seemingly very smart people, people who seemingly have their shit together in this crazy world we're living in, they're so plugged in and they need to be plugged in. And it's very understandable why people have this outlook on life. Because it's convenient, it's easy, it's predictable. And as we know, as we've talked about in many videos before, the subconscious mind, it wants you to feel safe and secure. So going to work, coming back home, and kicking back on the couch for 4 hours before you go to bed, that is safe, that is secure. You know that what you do will put you in a better position for survival. Even if what you're doing in that time isn't very conducive to a fun and fulfilling and enjoyable means of survival. Now, don't get it twisted. Obviously, I'm not anti-internet. It'd be pretty hypocritical for me to say that. I'm not anti-social media. I'm not anti-entertainment. But when it comes at the expense of your cognitive abilities and your mental health and your ability to be present with family members and your ability to be present while doing meaningful things, then that's not worth it. Most people wake up and stare at a 6.3-inch screen, then change rooms, sit on their couch, and stare at a bigger screen, then drive to another building and stare at another screen for 8 hours. After that, they drive back home just to stare at the other big screen while sitting on their couch. Then they climb into bed just to stare at their 6.3-inch screen once again. Now, of course, I'm being hyperbolic. Not everybody lives their life exactly in this manner, but it's a pretty common trend. We get up, we check our phones. We check our phone, we walk into the living room. We turn on the TV. We see what's going on, we're looking at our phone too. Then we shut it off, we keep our phone on, we go about our morning routine, then we drive to wherever we're gonna be. We open up our laptop or our computer and we stare at a screen doing whatever work we gotta do for 8 to 9 hours. Then we go back home, we stare at our phone, we stare at the TV, we go to bed, we still stare at the phone. It's never ending. And unless you get a grip on this, then you'll begin to experience those problems I mentioned before, if you haven't already. So you might be nodding your head in agreement, thinking, all right, man, I side with this, but what's the answer? What the hell do I do? Should I flush my phone down the toilet? Should I take a sledgehammer to my TV? Should I quit my job where I'm staring at screens all day? No, that's not the answer. You can keep all of those things that you have. But we can all choose to prioritize mental clarity instead, which makes lifestyle changes the glaringly obvious thing to do. When you experience peak mental clarity on a day-to-day basis, your perception of reality itself completely shifts. You notice opportunities in the worst of situations. You use technology to seek out information that improves your health, wealth, and relationships. You stop procrastinating and feel this overwhelming sense to do meaningful things with the information you learn. And the strange thing is, you feel less inclined to pull out your phone at the family dinner or stay up way past your bedtime scrolling social media for hours on end. Everything in your life shifts. Now look, you gotta understand that nobody wakes up one day and just decides they want to become addicted to something. Nobody said, I want to have a phone and social media addiction so bad that I can't even look people in the eye when I speak to them. Nobody said, I want to be so addicted to technology that my literal neural pathways will change so that they crave and need that technological stimulation. This is something that happens slowly, day by day, for weeks, months, and years. And if you're still watching at this point, then you're somebody who has at least come to terms with that fact. And more than likely, you're somebody who has a better grip on their attention and their cognitive abilities than other people, because my videos aren't flashy. My videos aren't meant to keep you hooked in and spike up your serotonin and dopamine like most other people's. Regardless, we could all use some lifestyle changes, and prioritizing mental clarity is a great way to start. And keep this in mind. The cost of staying the same is far greater than the cost of changing. And the pain of regret far outweighs the pain of making choices that directly conflict with your neural wiring. If you're serious about making these changes, it's going to be difficult. But trust me when I say, if we go 40 years from now and you look back on all that time you wasted scrolling social media, watching stupid videos, being pulled in by the news headlines, then you will regret how you spent your time. Better to go through the potential struggle of unplugging slowly and making better, more informed choices for your mental clarity right now than experience that regret all those years down the line. It starts with stepping back, zooming out, and observing how your life has been from a bird's eye view. Ask yourself, am I experiencing a life that I truly enjoy? Am I doing things every day that fulfill me? Am I continuing to learn? Or am I spending my time just consuming endless information? Once you can gain an understanding of those things, you'll feel much more inclined to try achieving this mental clarity within your own life. Look, it's your life. You live it however you wanna. I'm not here to judge. I'm just here to spread the information and hopefully motivate you in a way that is somewhat interesting, because I've been there. I've been the guy who sits like a little rat in the corner scrolling away while the world around me is just happening. I've been the guy who can't focus on important tasks that need to get done. I've been the guy who can't look other people in the eye because I'm so used to doom scrolling for hours on end every single night. The good thing is, your brain is neuroplastic. It's always changing, it's always adapting to your circumstances. So if you can begin to make these changes, then it'll slowly begin to rewire itself in ways that are conducive to the life you want to live. Start small. Go for a walk without music. Fold laundry without the TV on. Cook a meal without listening to a podcast. These simple things, they add up. And from there you can begin to notice what happens as a result. The question has nothing to do with whether or not you can make these changes, but it has everything to do with whether you will make these changes. Thank you very much for watching. Be sure to like the video and subscribe while you're here, because I'm launching out videos all the time. And if you're somebody who wants to overcome your overthinking and break these bad habits and get into your subconscious mind in ways that benefit you, not only in the short term, but in the long term moving forward, as you build a new identity that is conducive with the life you want to live, then be sure to check out the link below to work with me one-on-one. You and I can get to the root of those thought patterns and those behavioral patterns that are keeping you stuck and find ways to rewrite the script. Okay, then I will see you in the next video. Bye.